So remember, when we've just had surgery, one of the most important things, if you're coming down onto the floor to do any of these exercises, you do it safely. So we do in a step-by-step fashion. So you might want a chair or something to hold on next to you. So if you can, come down onto one knee and then both knees, using your support, hands and knees. And then this is the important part. We want to roll down sideways, bringing our head down onto the floor. So we're in a side lying position. And I've got my head on a little towel. You can use a little cushion. And then when we're down on the floor, we roll over onto our back. And then you're protecting your abdomen and you're coming down in a safe way. So whenever you get onto the floor, that's a really, really important way to do that. So you can also practice your rib breathing or your diaphragmatic breathing in this floor lying position. So we're lying on our back with our knees bent, feet flat. And again, we're just going to try that rib breathing. So breathing into our ribs and exhale. All we're looking for at this point is an expansion of the rib cage and a closing. So you start to get that feeling of the diaphragm starting to engage with your deep core muscles. Now, something to watch out for at this point is we don't want to allow the belly, the lower part of your belly, to rise or to kind of really bulge out too much. So if you just have a close look at my tummy, you can see this would be incorrect. So as I breathe in, we breathe out, and you can see the rise of my belly and pressing up. That's what we don't want. So as we progress this rib breathing technique, what I want you to think about is that this lower band of your abdomen pulls flatter. As we develop this rib breathing technique, I want you to imagine that your lower part of your abdomen flattens rather than rises as you breathe out. This can feel a bit counterintuitive to start with, but I really want you to practice and see if you can understand the relationship between the ribs, the pelvic floor, and these deep abdominals. So it kind of looks like this. We take a breath into our ribs. We breathe out. The ribs come down, and the belly actually starts to flatten. So as we progress this movement, what we're starting to do is connect the deep core muscles and re-engage this deep muscle at the front called the transverse abdominis, or the TVA. Don't worry too much about the terms. I just want you to get the sensation right. So now we're going to progress into something called finding your core. So we're starting to get some engagement and connection of these lower abdominal muscles, which isn't always easy, but with the right breath technique and a little bit of sort of thinking about it, you can start to find these muscles. So to find our core, we're staying in this position. Remember, on your back, in bed or on the mat, on the floor. I want you to find the bony points of your hips at the front. Use your two fingertips and kind of come into your belly. Now, obviously don't sort of poke around where it's painful or sore, you've got wounds. But see if you can find an area of your sort of lower tummy, about 2 inches in from your hip bones. And just have your fingertips pressing in. As you exhale, right at the end of your exhale, I want to see if you can feel the muscles underneath your fingertips just start to firm up a little bit. So we take our breath in, we breathe it out through the mouth, the ribs close down. Keep exhaling, and as you keep exhaling, you may start to feel a little bit of firming up of this muscle. It's like a big band of muscle, like a belt, and I want to see if you can feel that muscle under your fingertip. So let's try that again. So we breathe in, you can see my ribs opening, breathing out, the belly flattens, keep breathing out, keep breathing out, keep breathing out, and then consciously see if you can actually tighten up this deep muscle here. And if you can feel it under your fingertips, a little bit of firming up, you're finding your transverse abdominis and you're connecting your diaphragm, your transverse abdominis and your pelvic floor together, which is a starting point and really important to helping us learning how to manage intra-abdominal pressure. So you might want to practice that for about sort of 1 or 2 minutes at a time. Just take your time and just see if you can start to feel that connection of that muscle. So let's talk a little bit more about how to find the core. What we're doing here is getting a sensation of using the breath and using your brain to sort of just think about engaging these deep abdominal muscles. And this forms a foundation for everything we do moving forwards. It's not easy to begin with. So if you can do this before surgery, then that will really help you. If you're doing this for the first time after surgery, don't worry if you're not experiencing it yet. With practice, it will start to come. So we find the kind of front part of our hips, kind of bony bits that stick out, and we are just bringing our fingertips into our abdomen, and we're going to press down in an area that isn't obviously painful for you. See if you can feel a tensioning of the muscle. So sometimes we think about it like a big belt. We want to think about tightening that belt up. We want to think about the bony hip points pulling together, closing together. What I don't want you to do is think about sucking the belly button into the spine. That's the wrong cue because it's too high on the abdomen. We want to go much lower. So let's have a little try again. So it's all about the breath. We breathe in through the nose. We breathe out through the mouth, pulling the ribs down and feeling like you're pulling your hip bones together, pulling a belt tight and creating a tensioning of your lower part of your abdomen. And just see if you can feel that tensioning of the muscle, and then relax and let it go.